My parents took me to a psychiatric hospital 3 times, but I served only 2 of the prescribed time. The first time I was shut down there was at the age of 17. In the winter of 2001, I don't remember exactly what month, I was in my room when suddenly 3 healthy men in white coats burst into the apartment. They blocked my exit and started saying, "What an intelligent girl and sick." Quote, my parents came, said, "Get dressed," and threw clothes on my bed. I said I wasn't going anywhere. The doctors continued. Dress nice. I wanted to leave the room, but they grabbed me and dragged me. I resisted, clinging to the wall with my hands. They were tearing my hands off the wall. Dragged out of the apartment. Refused to go, lay down on the dirty floor. They took me by the arms and legs, carried me into the elevator. They tore off the jacket. I was screaming, "Help! Police!" There's a police station in my house, but they didn't even look out into the hallway to see what was going on. Barefoot, without a jacket and slippers, they were dragged down the street to the car. It's cold outside, it's snowing. I burst into tears in the car. People were passing by, looking. The parents came, threw sneakers into the car. They took me. In the psychiatric hospital, the doctor called me to her office. She looks sick, her eyes bulge out of their sockets, and black bruises under them. How she yelled at me. "Answer me, how was it? Did a voice from above order you?" Some doctor said. "Yes, you can see from her eyes that she is sick." Quote, there were wheelchairs there. There was a woman lying on the floor who was pissing under herself. She couldn't move. Injections were given to her endlessly, and then they took her away on a stretcher. The iron door is locked, the key is in the doctor's pocket. I begged my parents to pick me up. They signed the necessary papers and let me go that day, but that was just the beginning. The second time they took a mental hospital to the nursery. They gave me pills from which it was very bad. It was hard to walk, they barely moved my legs, there was a feeling that I would fall. From one pill I went to bed for a few days. I looked terrible after it. They vomited something yellow from them. They were picking at their mouths with their fingers, they looked at whether they drank them or not. They were afraid that they would unclench their teeth, check if I would hide them. The nurse was yelling at me, "Take a pill now," to hold me to give me an injection. All the doctors gathered, even the cleaner with a mop. Windows, doors are locked, the keys are with the medical staff. But the third time was really scary. In an adult psychiatric hospital. As usual, 3 hefty men in white coats burst into the apartment. They didn't stand on ceremony with me, they immediately grabbed me by the neck and dragged me into the car. Very cleverly grabbed by the neck, you can see right away that they are trained for patients. It's not the first time they grab. It was in the evening, it was already dark outside. As soon as they were brought in, they forcibly injected the injection. I refused him. The orderly grabbed my arm and yelled, "Do you want to make me angry?" Grabbed him by the neck, probably this is their favorite technique, pinned him to the bed and injected psychotropic poison. They were dragged by force to the isolation ward, where the seriously ill are located. There's a locked door, bars on the windows, a toilet in the same place. Those who arrive there are not allowed to go outside and into the corridor. The ward is shabby. I didn't want to wear ragged psychiatric clothes, and then the orderly and the nurse forcibly stripped me to the goal. The finger was twisted, broken to take off the jacket. They shouted, "We'll tie you to the bed now." And there, I noticed, they really like to tie. An old woman, I remember, was brought. She said she couldn't stay here. She had to go home, she had a lot to do. She sat down on a chair near the door. She was told, "Get into bed." She didn't lie down. Tied to the bed. I went to the toilet so as not to hear the heart-rending screams. They gave a lot of injections, and after the binding became very abnormal, delirious. The doctors were joyful, they were so happy, their faces were already red with pleasure. In the morning they brought me medicine. I asked what it was from, and they answered me rudely, "You should know what medications were prescribed to you." I didn't drink. They grabbed me, threw me on the bed, the sadists pinched my nose so that I had nothing to breathe, and I opened my mouth. They tried to pour it in. They laughed that I could hold my breath for a long time, shouted, "Why are you pushing us away with your legs?" It was not possible to pour the medicine, poison, then they injected the injection by force. After it, I fell into a dream, lost my will. In the evening, 2 more syringes were injected for 10 days, 2 times 1 injection in the morning, 2 in the evening. Then my parents brought me a bag with food and clothes. They were not allowed to go on a date with them. The doctors rummaged through my bag. I stretched out my hand to the bag, they pushed me away, said, "Don't go where you don't need to." The food was only given, and the rest was closed in the storage. I broke the bars, cut my hands, I had bruises on them. Then she fell into unconsciousness from the injections. My tongue was twisted, I couldn't eat. How can you eat with a twisted tongue if it's standing across your throat? My body cramped, I was lying in bed, I couldn't turn over on the other side. I remember waking up for a while when I was staggering and 2 injections crashed into my ass. She was sitting on the bed, unconscious, staring out the window. My mouth was twisting. They put a mug of drink in my hand. I sat holding it in my hand and looked at one point, then consciousness flashed briefly, brought the drink to my mouth, and dropped it spilled past my mouth on myself. I remember I was standing, staggering, rolling my eyes to the ceiling, and they put some kind of pill in my mouth. I couldn't eat, I was lying unconscious. They tried to feed me because I couldn't eat myself. They made me get up from the bed, sit down, and the nurse poked a spoon with melted cheese into my mouth, which my parents brought me from home. A spoon and cheese. I couldn't even swallow tea. I kept it in my mouth for a long time, lying in bed, until it poured out by itself. That's how they pricked me. My mom came to me on a date, then I woke up a little. There was a special dating room in the mental hospital. That's when I made my escape. The nurse and the nurse were chatting standing near the door. I was nearby, and suddenly the thought flashed through my mind that the door was not locked. My mind cleared up. I opened the door very quickly. Instantly, it turned out to be really unlocked, and ran out into the street. The terrain was unfamiliar, but I got my bearings where to run, ran straight to the fence and climbed over it. Not far from the fence there was a drunkard lying around, drunk to the bone. Surprisingly, drunks are lying right under the fence of the psychiatric hospital, and they are not sent to be treated. I barely made it home on my wobbly legs. No one was happy to see me at home. Screams, screams, crying, hysteria, that's what was waiting for me at home. In the morning, the folder went to the mental hospital, took things. Arriving from there, he said I have to go there with him, pick up my passport. The brains of the poison did not think anything. I did not understand that I was being deceived. I went. They didn't give me my passport and locked me in the isolation ward again. Continued pumping injections. 30 injections were made in 10 days. I remember I was sitting at the table barely alive. The nurse pushed the food into my mouth by force. The sadist almost broke her teeth. She shoved a mug of tea into her mouth, but she spilled it all over me. Yelled at me a couple of times. She also poured medicine into her mouth. I refused to drink the medicine in the canteen when she was delivering it to everyone, and the cue reached me. Then she grabbed me, dragged me by force to the isolation ward. I put her on a chair, shoved liquid into her mouth in a cup and forced her to drink tea. Another nurse held me. I spat out the medicine, then this nurse lured around for another portion. I tortured her for a long time until I forced her to drink. I was very ill from this medicine liquid. I could not sit in one place for a long time. I was very worried. My eyes were cloudy, my eyes hurt, they closed themselves as if I wanted to sleep. There is a terrible stench in the isolation ward. 9 beds for 9 psychos, the door is locked, the windows are locked, the toilet is right in the wall where the door is open, that's the stink. Food is brought there to eat, soup, and the second they pile everything on one plate, and only give it a spoon to pick at. They kept me there for 2 weeks and transferred me to a regular ward. Consciousness began to return. The liquid was given to drink terrible, there was a very strong anxiety from it. The longer they gave, the worse it got. They were given 4 more pills a day to drink in this liquid. I was kept in an adult mental hospital from August 18 to September 23. They were released home after 37 days. Lucky. For a long time after the psychiatric hospital it was bad, my legs hurt when walking. When they released me from the mental hospital, I barely got home. I restrained myself so as not to start running on the bus. I tried to sit on the bus for an hour. I couldn't find a place for myself at home. I didn't lie on the couch and didn't sit. It's all from this liquid poison. I felt bad after the mental hospital. Anxiety remained strong. Consciousness is clouded. The TV didn't look good. Everything seemed lifeless, insensitive. Even nature did not please. This condition passed only after 5 months. On the commission, when the disability group was put, tell me. If you don't take medications, we'll do brain surgery. The doctor kept saying, until you tell me what happened to you, I won't let you out of the hospital. Scarecrows. If you don't drink the medicine, we'll put an IV. Your parents abandoned you. No one will take you home sick. They'll send you to a boarding house. Quote, a doctor named Evgenia with a very arrogant physiognomy treated me, tortured, crippled. Because the word treatment does not fit. Drugs from which you fall into unconsciousness, the body twists with a cramp, while looking like a moron, you stand staggering with your eyes rolled to the ceiling, and even after a long disuse, anxiety remains. They cannot be medicines. When they released me from a psychiatric hospital prison, this institution can be called that because I was deprived of my freedom there, the doctor Evgenia intimidated. Next time we won't play with you now we've been playing. You will stay with us for at least 3 months. She also said when they put her in the isolation ward for refusing to drink medicine, we're trying to humor you. It's you who should listen to us, not us. I'm in charge here. I was transferred to the isolation ward from the usual ward for another attempt to escape. Then I saw how drunk orderlies with red and swollen muzzles dragged an unconscious woman by the legs. I remember a nurse hit a seriously ill woman in the face. The same nurse was very fond of yelling hysterically at patients in the isolation ward a little bit at once. I asked her to give me my clothes from the storage and she yelled at me for some unknown reason. My stomach was very sore from the drugs, poison. There were terrible pains in my stomach. The whole day usually lasted. That's right, my stomach hurt until I threw up on the floor in the dining room. Some nurse was nearby, she saw it, shouted, "My floors." I went to bed as soon as possible, it was very bad with my stomach. It's all from the drugs. The nurse, the one who used to pour medicine into her mouth for the first time, stuffed a pill into her mouth, pushed her finger into her teeth because of her refusal to drink it. And how are they not disgusted to pick with their fingers in someone else's mouth? In the isolation ward, the walls are peeling, painted with white paint, whereas some doctor's office is so decorated, the walls are covered with boards. I saw when the door was open, the furniture is all new, the flowers are standing. Important doctors go, the keys to all the doors are in their pocket, they probably tinkle very pleasantly. Doctors took sadistic actions not related to treatment at all. Twisting a finger, forcibly changing into hospital clothes, forcibly stuffing food, pinching the nose so that there was nothing to breathe. Is it possible to pour something into your mouth lying down? You can drown. In a mental hospital, medical staff need muscles more than medical knowledge. They often use physical force, usually to those who do not want to be treated. Psychiatrists in the hospital are scum, sadists, fanatics. All this happened in the hospital of the Novo Vilna district. Nothing is invented in the story. The truth, only the truth, nothing but the truth.